Yeah.
Perfect.
Lovely.
Is that lovely?
Pretty sexy. Baby, don't leave
No, I
me.
won't.
What's good? This is your boy Begot, aka Tico Tren, aka the Internal Sadist. This podcast is going to be about standards in this day and age and how standards are interpreted, or the fallout to certain standards and things along the lines of that when it comes to relationship and dating. So this is basically going to be more geared towards women, and this is going to be more geared towards men too as well. The thing about standards that people fail to realize is we typically get upset when men have standards for women, but women are allowed to have a plethora of standards for men. But the minute a man has standards, we get bent out of shape, and we always want to shame somebody into submission or shame somebody for having too many standards or being too high, because we always look at it like, well, the fact that she wants to date him should be enough for him. That's not how this stuff works. At the end of the day, we all know that that's not how this works, and we all try to play this game like it all matters, basically, when it really doesn't matter. All this stuff that women talk about, men should want in women, none of that stuff even matters. Her money doesn't even fucking matter. Anything she basically does doesn't really matter unless it's something to do with creating value within the relationship, sadly. And this is the problem that a lot of people have, especially women. If you don't create value in a relationship, then you aren't worth anything in that relationship to that man. You're basically more of a liability than you are an investment at the end of the day, or a fucking anything along the lines of that. So what you look for in a man is not what a man looks for in a woman. So case in point, if you're a woman and you're looking for an educated man, and you're looking for him to have a certain type of degree, have a certain type of job, and all these things along these lines, that is not what a man is looking for in a woman. It don't matter how many degrees you get. It don't matter how smart you think you are. It don't matter what school you went to. It don't matter. None of that shit matters at the end of the damn day to a man who is on his grind and on his purpose at the end of the day. None of that shit matters, because you're more of a liability than you are an actual freaking, investment. And here's why. Women who typically are college educated typically are more likely to be divorced. It is what it is. I'll repeat that one more time for y'all in the back. Women who are college educated are more likely to get divorced. Therefore, any man with an ounce of sense will not marry a college educated woman for this very reason, because divorce is very high. It is what it is. Whether we all like it or not, this is why men of a certain caliber don't make women of that caliber, because the divorce rates are very, very high when it comes to women and who are college educated. I think the numbers is what, like 80, 90%? 90% of women who are college educated initiate divorces. So why would a man want to take on that liability at the end of the damn day? Because you're unhappy, or just because you change your mind in midstream, or because Lord knows what, basically. No man wants to take on that responsibility. No man wants to take on that hustle. No man wants to take on that liability. Think of it like this. You have a credit card, and to get this credit card, you're going to have to start off with only like $50 to $25 on a credit card, because all the rest of it went towards fees and getting the credit card started and things like that. Does that sound like a good deal to you? Let's just say you have a $1,000 credit limit on that credit card, but you only have $25 to $50 on that credit card, because that other $950 to $975 went towards an actual bill, or went towards the actual startup fee and all this other extra stuff. Does that sound fair to you? So now you're starting behind the ball with a $950 to $975 fee that's already been charged to your card, that you're supposed to have a credit limit for $1,000 for, but you can't have that credit limit until you pay off all that money. You see what I'm saying? That is a problem. That is a liability, because at the end of the daggone day, you don't have access to your full credit, because the credit card company basically sucked it all up, took it, and used it for their own personal gain, sadly. So now you're paying back money that you were promised to a credit card company that you should have had, that you never got. That's basically how men view women who are college educated. It's that simple. So if you're college educated, just know that men are less likely to fuck with you for the very reason that you're more of a liability than you are an investment. Sadly, let's just get that out the way first. Secondly, men and women look for two different things when it comes to relationships. At the end of the day, men look for qualities that add value to them, intrinsic value to them. Women look for qualities that that provide and sustain and sustainability, provision, and all this other stuff, safety, security, stuff like that. Whereas men look at women for basically, does it add intrinsic value to me? If she doesn't add intrinsic value to me, then what's the point? Typically, men would only marry and date women who had intrinsic value to them. They would only fuck women and sleep with women that don't add any intrinsic value to them. So if you don't add any intrinsic value to a man and you're wondering why he doesn't wife you up or doesn't want a serious relationship with you, you should know that you add no intrinsic value to that man, so he doesn't see you as valuable. Therefore, you're not important. At the end of the day, you're just not important. And that's the problem that a lot of women have with when it comes to men. You're not adding any intrinsic value to them. Well, I have it agreed. That doesn't add any intrinsic value to him. Well, I get my own money. That doesn't add any intrinsic value to him. Because we all know at the end of the daggone day, what's up, Win? We all know at the end of the daggone day, your money doesn't mean shit when it comes to the household. Your money probably won't be spent on the household. Your money won't be spent on none of these bills. It won't be spent on none of these mortgages, none of this shit that's basically going around the house, basically. It'll be spent on yourself. Like the famous saying says when it comes to women, your money's our money, my money's my money. That's typically how it works. So a man basically goes into a relationship knowing that your money's your money. So what is the point of your money? Your money is useless. Your money makes no sense. Your money is about as useful as your money's less useful than a one-legged man in an ass-kicking contest at the end of the day, in the famous words of JR. That's all your money's worth. Your money's about as less worthless than a one-legged man in an ass-kicking contest. That's pretty much how men view females' money when they get money and stuff like that. It's invalid. It doesn't matter. It's your money, basically, and you're going to spend it on the dumb shit that you want to spend it on. And it's not going to be spent on anything that adds any intrinsic value to the relationship. And it's not going to be spent on anything for all intents and purposes. Sad part about that is it don't matter how much you dress up. You don't add in, by dressing up in a nice shoes or clothes or purse, that adds zero intrinsic value to your relationship and to your man at the end of the daggone day. You looking good, damn near adds little to no value to your relationship. It's all about the things that you possess to make your relationship better, make it more stable, make it more concrete. So that's the thing that women miss when it comes to relationships. And this is what I'm talking about as I get into the whole entire standards portion of relationships. Your standards are different from men's standards. Your standards will never be the same as a men's standards. The only man you can get with that type of attitude and that type of thing is a beta man. Now, if you want somebody that you want to take care of, get your ass a beta man. If you want an actual man, you're going to basically have to fall in line, basically, with the man's milieu at the end of the day. If you don't fall in line with the man's milieu and you add no intrinsic value to the man, you're of no use to him. That'd be like being a fucking secretary for a catering business, but your husband's basically a law firm or a financial consulting firm. You have no value. You add no value to this relationship at the end of the day, if you know what I mean. What does a catering business have to do with a financial consulting firm or a freaking law firm? You add no intrinsic value to this relationship at the end of the day. Your skill set doesn't match anything he got going on in his milieu or anything he got going on in his life. Therefore, you're not valuable to that person. You would never be valuable to that person. All you are is a warm hole to stick a dick in, basically. It's typically how that works. Men never marry or go on Men never wife up or marry or go in relationships, go into whole ass relationships with women who don't add any intrinsic value to themselves. If a woman doesn't add any intrinsic value, he would never date her. He would never be with her. And they might as well not even fucking talk at that moment in time. So, at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, you have to know your core audience and what you're actually pitching your ideas to at the end of the day, ladies. If you're pitching your ideas of education and making six figures and all this other stuff, you're pitching it to the wrong crowd. Because people like me, people that make six figures, and people above me don't really give a fuck about your money, because your money means nothing to us. Your money, your education means nothing to us. It has no value to us. And the sad part about that, a lot of your educations don't have nothing to do with what we got going on in our business. So we couldn't even utilize you in our business for you to remotely be a valuable asset to the business. Like if you go to school for gender studies, what does that have to do with the fucking, trucking business that I got going on? What does that have to do with the farming business or the fucking security firm business or the security software business that I got going on? You went to school for gender studies. What does that have to do with anything? Or you're a social worker. What the fuck value does that add to me or any of my businesses? These are things you have to think about when you actually do things or try to make yourself more valuable or try to paint yourself in a light that, make yourself seem more, useful or more valuable than what you really are. Because the sad part about that is at the end of the damn day, you're not that useless. You're not that useful. You're very useless depending on what the man got going on. Now, if the man has a catering business, okay, cool. If the man has a bar and you happen to be a bartender at the bar, okay, cool. But if none of this stuff is in play, then you're useless to this man. If the man runs a law firm, you're of no use to him. If the man runs a fucking financial consulting firm, you have no use for him. If the man's in the trucking industry, you're of no use to him. At the end of the day, this is something that you need to learn very quickly, or you will fall flat on your face and be wondering why you're single and lonely and wondering where all the good men went at the end of the day. You can't do that. You got to actually have a better mindset when it comes to picking people and what you're going to do. I always found it funny, and a guy actually literally said this in an interview. So when a man was doing all this stuff and he was dating down, it wasn't a problem. Now that women are doing all this stuff, they don't want to date down. It's a problem. The sad part about that is that if you're going to be the breadwinner, you're going to have to settle for somebody who's not the breadwinner. Because no man wants a woman that is useless. Most men marry women who are useful and who add value to themselves. So why would a man want to marry or date you when you add no value to him? What? You're just a warm hole? Every woman gets a warm hole. Hell, there are probably other women throwing themselves at him that's trying to get the same man you're trying to get was a warm hole. So you add no value at the end of the day. It's kind of like that one song. Every man wants a woman that's good, that's, more than just good for just laying her on her back, basically, laying on her back at the end of the damn day. She has to have some type of value to her. She has to add some value intrinsically to the relationship at the end of the day to be a better person for the man to actually want to wife her up and all this other great stuff. It is what it is. But when it comes down to it, when it comes to standards, like the title says, standards begets more standards. So if a woman goes into a relationship looking for something in a man and expecting something from a man, she can't be shocked when that man has a certain level of standards for her. The more standards you have for a man, just know that a man has standards that he wants to enforce upon you at the end of the daggone day. People say, well, that's not fair. Well, no, it's fair. If you want to be a part of this man's milieu, there's some standards you're going to have to meet to actually get to be with that man, to be in a relationship with that man. You have to meet a certain particular set of standards at the end of the daggone day in that man's eyes. You have to cross a couple thresholds. You got to come across the finish line a couple more times. You got to do a few things for you to be for any value of to a man, basically. And William Hand said something about dating down, dating up. Don't date at all. Dudes are being attacked in the street, attacked and killed in the streets. Yeah, true. The sad part about that is that's very true at the end of the day. And the sad part about that, a lot of this stuff is going on, and we want to pretend like, women are the one that's oppressed, when in fact women don't even get like a 3/4 of the jail time a man gets. Women don't even get the jail time a man gets. They only get like anywhere between 1/4 to 1/10 of the jail sentence that a man gets, sadly. And it's true. It's sad. And it happens on a regular basis. But the sad part about that is when it comes to women, their problem is they have a problem with when a man has standards. So if a high value man, if you want a high value man, just know that there's going to be standards that you're going to have to follow too, or hoops that you're going to jump through for that high value man. And I always found it funny how women will want a high value man after dating a man that's not high value. Well, depending on the community you come from and the TV shows you watch, apparently, bad boys are high value men to some people. But now all of a sudden, now you want to settle down and you want this high value man over here with the money, the looks in the car, and all this other stuff and the lifestyle. The sad part about that is when it comes down to it, that man is looking for a different set of skills than what you possess at the end of the day. It's kind of like Liam Nielsen. You need to have a particular set of skills to be able to play the game or to be even considered to date that high value man. If you don't have any of those skills, you don't have none of that skill set, and you didn't work on it or you didn't cultivate that skill set, you can't expect a high value man to want you. The sad part about that is at the end of the damn day, education isn't a determining marker for a high value man dating you. At the end of the day, you making money isn't a priority or a determining factor or marker for a man picking you to being in a long-term relationship at the end of the day. Because when it comes down to it, again, you're of no value to that person. Your money means nothing to that person. What you got going on means dick to that person. I don't care if you're the CEO of something. All that shit means dick to anybody. So women will have to basically either do one of two things. Either start dating down or learn to adapt to other people's programs. Because just because you want a certain lifestyle doesn't mean you don't have to adjust accordingly to that lifestyle. Case in point, there's a lot of rich women out there, women out there that date rich men, but you don't really see them out there like that, nor do you see them blazed all over the internet like that at the end of the day. They might have been blazed over the internet in the past, but currently, that's not their thing. Because the sad part about that is at the end of the day, like I was saying in another stream, you represent another human being. You can't be your person. You can't be your own person in a relationship at the end of the day. I mean, you can be your own person when you're growing, but you can't be, you're attached to all these people at the end of the damn day. It's kind of like what I say with lineage. Your last name is a lineage of where you come from. You represent that lineage at the end of the damn day. The only thing that belongs to you is your first name. That's it. The only thing that belongs to your ass is your first name. That is the only thing that belongs to you. All the other names, you're probably named after somebody else, and you got the lineage of your father or your mother, basically, or both, depending on your culture. So at the end of the damn day, you're not independent from your family. You're basically come from a long line, a long succession of people from your damn family. So you're beholden to your family. You are a representation of your family. You are a representation of all these things at the end of the day. So therefore, no, you're not strong and independent. You're still attached to a family, and you're still attached to a family name. It's kind of like the women that claim they're strong and independent, that come from the porn industry, but they want to still use their porn name, but want to be shocked when people recall their porn days. The sad part about that is you don't want to be who you are. You want to be your porn name inserted into your new career, sadly. You basically want to bankroll your success in porn and make it so that you have success in other areas, at the end of the damn day. That's just one example, basically. It's like you can't expect people to see you to view you in a different light. Where you're going to use the very name that made you popular for something else totally different, and you want to be shocked when people talk about your career choices in the past. It doesn't work that way. It will never work that way. This is society we live in at the end of the day. Just like women when they get married, when it comes down to it, you kind of sort of have to submit to your husband or your boss. You can't submit to both. The sad part about that, women have a horrible time of submitting to both two people at the same damn time. They can only submit to one person. And typically in a relationship, it don't matter what they're making, what their job is. If they're submitting to a boss, they're not going to submit to their husband. It's that simple. So one of the many standards within a relationship is your ability to submit to your man. You can't submit to two people. You can't have two bosses and two leaders at the end of the damn day. If you're going to submit fully to a man, you're going to submit fully to a man. You can't submit to any other man or any other person at the end of the day. It's you and your husband. That's what you walk down the aisle. That's what you walk down the aisle to do, to marry that person. So you have to learn to submit to that man. You can't be up here saying, I love this man, but you don't trust this man. Or you can't be up here talking about, I love this man, but I don't respect his leadership. You're going to be in a world of hurt and have a lot of problems at the end of the day when you do shit like that at the end of the day. It sucks, but it is what it is. You can't do that. So you have to abide by this man's standards. And what he's looking for in a wife and a partner isn't the same thing you're looking for in a wife and a partner. Harvard is not what a man's looking for in a partner. And these are for men who actually can afford to have a woman as a stay-at-home wife, that is. These are the men that can afford to actually do this shit. They're not looking for anybody who has the same shit as them. They're looking for somebody who can add value to their lives. Let it be home, let it be children, let it be all the above, let it be planning, handling a schedule, shit like that, basically, or maintaining the household and or the relationship at the end of the day. If you can't maintain a relationship, and your idea of maintaining a relationship is you getting all the stuff, then you're not going to be in that relationship at all, or for a good period of time, because now you're just being selfish with your wants and needs and stuff like that. Sadly, I mean, it's one thing for needs; it's another thing for wants. At the end of the day, you can't want a lot of shit and then me trying to say it's a need that you need, basically, or it's a requirement that you require. No, this is what you want. This is not what you require. Because the sad part about that, a lot of these values and a lot of these things that women say, a lot of these things that, women hold in high regards are nothing more than wants. They're not needs. Why do you need somebody to make this much money? For what? Why can't you make that money yourself? And these are the problems that you run into with women. They seem to can't get with a program, and then they're always upset saying that person's controlling. No, the person's not controlling. The person has a set of standards that you're not willing to follow. Or they'll say something stupid like, well, I have a problem with authority. Okay, you can have a problem with authority, but just know a six-figure income man is not going to deal with your problems with authority. He's going to leave you where you stand with your problems with authority at the end of the day. So at the end of the day, you have to submit to a man. You can't submit to two people. You have to submit to one person. Now, if you're poor and y'all both need a job and your husband doesn't make a shit ton of money to basically support a whole entire household or support the stay-at-home mom or stay-at-home wife lifestyle, then that's perfectly fine. You gotta find other ways to add value to your husband at the end of the daggone day, no matter what he's making or what he's going or how his life is going. You have to be able to add value, intrinsic value to your husband at the end of the day for you to actually be with your husband. Like we say, women are the gatekeepers of sex, men are the gatekeepers to relationships. If you're not in a relationship with a man, you're basically just being used and strung along based on your general beliefs that you could change somebody and all this other stupidity and dumb shit that comes with it. So you're basically trying to cheat the system, or you're trying to bend the system and bend the rules of the system to fit your narrative on why you believe that you deserve a man, basically, when in fact you don't really deserve shit. You might deserve a sweet kick in the pants, but you don't really deserve shit at the end of the day. You can barely do anything yourself, and you can barely maintain your own sanity, and let alone your own fucking self-control or impulse control problems. But you want a man that does all this stuff. That stuff requires you to be able to control your impulses. That stuff requires you to be able to put these things on with no problem whatsoever, without any problems, and do it efficiently in an efficient manner. Or if your husband has something for you to do. It's kind of like the one woman that was on either TikTok or YouTube that was talking shit on her husband and her father-in-law, who's literally building her a brand new house. All they ask her to do is basically straighten up a little bit so we can actually keep the building of this house efficient, so we can get done in a timely manner so you can live in your lovely house, basically. She got on TikTok or social media and showed her whole entire ass on social media, and basically, end result was her husband basically filed for divorce against her. Stuff like this is happening because men are waking up to the uselessness of women. You couldn't even be a team player enough. You couldn't even be a team player enough to actually help straighten up the house that your husband and his father-in-law are helping build to make you happy. You didn't even have the decency to appreciate the fact that your father-in-law is helping build your house. No, you're selfish. You don't believe you need to do any work. Therefore, ergo, while you're getting a divorce and your husband's not happy with you at the end of the damn day because you wanted to show your ass on TikTok or social media and complain to people who want to coddle you, thinking that everything's going to be okay. And you made, what, you made 3-4 videos, basically, with 2 of them being about how you're going through a divorce and you don't think it's right that you're going through a divorce. Or how you think your husband's being unreasonable, despite the fact that you were being an unreasonable bitch to your husband and your father-in-law, who are literally building your house for fucking free. This is the problem that a lot of women have. You want to run your mouth and do all this dumb shit, but you don't want the consequences that come with it. You basically want to be out here showing your ass, but you don't want none of the consequences that come with, you being out here being verbose and showing off your ass, basically, to all these people. You don't want none of the consequences. You want everybody to be, sophisticated, intelligent, and ignore the fact that, you're showing off and you're showing out, basically. It's typically how it works. You cannot have it both ways. You cannot have it to the point where you're screwing yourself over and you're wondering why all this shit's not working out for you, or all this shit's not paying out for you. Then you want to complain that your husband or your boyfriend is not doing something right, when in fact it's actually you not doing something right. It's you that is unhappy, and it's you that have to solve that problem and figure out what makes you happy at the end of the damn day. This is the problem with standards, because women don't want to be held to any standards or be held responsible. This is typically why women don't like good men. Because typically, granted, unless you're a simp, typically we're talking about the good men who have everything going for them that is disciplined. Anytime a woman gets in a relationship with a man that's very disciplined, she makes up all these excuses on why she shouldn't be in that relationship with that disciplined man, because if you're dating a disciplined man who's very responsible, that requires a woman to be very responsible. Physically and mentally, emotionally, and all the above, basically. It requires you to be a responsible person. It requires you to be probably something that you're not used to being. If you are used to it, it basically requires that of you, for the very reason that there's a list of things that you have to check off so everybody can know that he can know basically that you're relationship material. Then you have these women that run off at the mouth that says, well, that's wifely duties. I should have to do that unless you put a ring on it. Well, the sad part about that is if you want to be a wife, you have to perform wifely duties or things that would be considered wifely duties so you can actually make it to the next level to be ringed up or to get a ring put on it. Because at the end of the damn day, if you're not willing to do anything and you're not willing to better yourself and you're not willing to be a help and you're willing to be a hindrance to your husband, well, your future husband, well, it's not gonna be your future husband anymore. It's gonna be your future ex at the end of the day. So the sad part about that is when it comes down to it, women have this very problem with trying to fit into a milieu or taking responsibility or being with a guy who's very, very responsible or very, very physically responsible at the end of the day, because they look at it like, okay, I got to be held accountable and I got to be held responsible for a lot of the shit I do. Now, don't get me wrong, there are some women who will take responsibility for their actions and shit like that, but that's typically only a temporary thing. It's basically out of sight, out of mind, or it's one of those things where it just blows out one errand, basically, and that's typically how you end up fucked up or in a strange situation. Because you want to do all this extra shit that has nothing to do with anything being intrinsically valuable to your husband at the end of the day. You want to be extra about it. You want to do all this stupid stuff that makes it so you're never seen in a light that will be seen as wifey material. Just because you think you deserve to be a wife, that don't mean you're ready to be a wife. Just because you want to be a wife, that don't mean you deserve to be a wife or you're ready to be a wife at the end of the day. Just because you want something, that don't mean you deserve it or you can have it at the end of the day, because we learn very quickly that even a lot of these women who marry end up divorced, or a lot of these women end up marrying certain people and end up embarrassed or upset with the finished product because they're not willing to actually put in any work, and then they get mad at the man for not putting in any work for them or against them or around them. The sad part about that is at the end of the day, when it comes to your happiness as a woman, it's your job to make yourself happy. If you can't make yourself happy, you can't expect nobody else to make you happy. If you're going to be a douchebag, you can't expect a positive outcome from being a douchebag at the end of the day. So there's that. Then you also have the fact that women have a problem with conforming to a milieu. Even the women who say, well, I'll be in my feminine energy if I can get a man who deserves it. No, you can't turn off feminine energy. It's not something you turn on and off, basically. You're never going to find a man if you can't turn on your feminine energy or your feminine charm at the end of the day. You're never going to find a man who's willing to take you on and take you seriously if you're going to walk around the same stupid shit like, well, I'll do this when I'm a wife, or I'll do this, I'll respect a man or submit to a man who whenever I get that man in my life that has to make me submit. The sad part about that is at the end of the damn day, men don't want somebody who looks like they're going to be a problem or a liability to a relationship at the end of the day. If you're going to be a liability or a problem to a relationship, men are typically going to skip over you, ignore you, and not pay attention to you the least bit, because they can't take you seriously because you say a lot of stupid shit out your mouth based on what a lot of these fucking stars who are married or in whole ass relationships are saying. Miss, I don't cook, I don't clean, Cardi B's at home cooking and cleaning. All my single ladies, she made that song when she was married. Or damn near married, or engaged to be married. In a whole ass relationship. So you can't be saying all this shit and be talking about how you're strong and independent and expecting everybody to do anything for you, because people won't take you seriously. If you want to be strong and independent, be strong and independent by yourself or with a simp or with a beta. You're not going to be strong and independent with an alpha. Because at the end of the day, two alphas can't exist in the same airspace at the end of the day. And if you're not willing to submit to a man, then he's not going to want you around because you're a liability. That'd basically be no different than a person who is on your squad and you're basically, let's just say you're SEAL Team 6. You have a person on your squad who is new, who is basically creating espionage on your whole entire squad at the end of the day. So as you progress, you realize that this person is making you digress, basically in your mission. This person's basically working against you on your own mission. You got two choices. Either you put that person down or shoot them, or you basically try to work with that person or work around that person's thing. Now, why would you want to work around that person's shitty stuff to basically try to make your life better, when in fact you can get somebody who doesn't have a lot of shitty stuff or won't bring shitty stuff to your doorstep, sadly. Now, that's not a whole lot, but there's very few far between, typically based on the man that a woman dates, basically, or the women that men pick at the end of the day. It's the nature of the beast. So you can't do that. It doesn't work that way, and it will never work that way. Men don't look at women and see the shit that they got and think to myself, that's a very sexy woman because she got a college degree. No, men don't think like that. Or that's a very sexy woman because she makes 6 figures. No, men don't think like that. Only men that want to be taken care of, or men that, some men that want to be taken care of, or some men who don't have it all going for them, or some men that just simp for women, those are the ones that will basically do it, or pay any attention to you, or pay any mind to you at the end of the day. It's typically how that works. But the sad part about that is women need to learn to humble themselves, because the more standards you have to meet somebody, the more likely you're not going to meet that person. And when you do meet that person, if you do meet that person, just know your list of standards is going to be matched or have to line up against his list of standards, or his list of things that he wanted in a partner at the end of the day. Just because you're a cute woman, that doesn't mean you should be wifed up. Anybody can be a cute woman. Anybody can come back fucked up. Anybody can come back any old way, shape, or form at the end of the daggone day. But the sad part about that is you have to take accountability for what you got going on and why you have it going on in your damn life. What's up, MGTOW Cowboy? What's up, D-Man 50? What's up, Yam? What's up, Wind? What's up, William Hand? What's up, Prime Ruler, a.k.a. Corey Still? But at the end of the damn day, you basically have to figure out how to actually fit your life or fit your lifestyle into a man's lifestyle, because a man's not going to take you on. A man's not going to take you on, for that matter, for any given reason, if you keep on doing the dumb shit that you do. A man's not going to take you on if you're going to be a liability to that man. A man's not going to take you on because you add no intrinsic value to his life. You probably don't have any life skills, and if you do, they're probably garbage life skills, or they're probably life skills that you think is life skills that you think will help the relationship when it really doesn't help your relationship in the least bit. It just makes it worse. Like I said, 70%, 90% of all college-educated women initiate divorce. It is what it is. It's the nature of the beast. We understand that. But what you can't do is pretend none of this stuff works. None of this stuff is happening. A lot of this pull, and a lot of this stuff that makes it so that you're a human being or a better human being, none of this stuff really matters. None of this stuff really makes a difference in the things that you do with your life at the end of the day. None of this stuff matters. Your college degree, the fact that you're hiking up the hill, and all this stuff does not matter. Any of this stuff doesn't matter. All that shit is null and void to what a man got going on in his life. If you can't add any value, or if you can't do anything that he actually needs you to do, you can't expect him to accept you as an incomplete product or a broken product at the end of the day. He's not willing to accept a broken product or a product that doesn't add any value to his life. He's not willing to accept somebody who has no value to him or means nothing to him at the end of the daggone day. You can't do that and expect greatness from anybody. You can't do that and expect things to go swimmingly at the end of the day. It's kind of like the women like that basically are like the women who have negative attitudes all the fucking time. You expect people to be positive around you when you're one of the most negative people in the whole entire world. That's basically how that works. You can't have it both ways. You can't have it two ways and then be unhappy with the results that you got from that whole entire mess. It doesn't work like that. It would never work like that, and it would never be like that. You basically need to meet a man on his same playing field with the skill set that he requires from you. Education isn't a skill set that a man requires from a woman. Unless you're a man that doesn't make that much money, you work in a two-parent household. That's the only way that will actually ever be a thing. Or you need a two customer household, or you need a two, you know what I mean? You just need that shit basically. I mean, it doesn't work that way. It just doesn't work that way. And you can't be happy. You can't be upset with the things that men choose to do or choose to make a decision on, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter how sexy you are. It doesn't matter how good your pussy is. It doesn't matter how good your head is. It doesn't matter how much money you make. It doesn't matter what school you went to. It doesn't matter how many degrees you got. It doesn't even matter about any of those fucking degrees. If you add no value to a man, he's not going to want to take you on as a significant other, a partner, a wife, and any of these other things. Whatever you want to call it, he's never going to take you on and take you seriously if you meet none of those goals, you meet none of those requirements, you meet none of those standards that he actually has set out in general. Now, I'm willing to bet any money, men pretty much put themselves out there so they know what they're looking for and they know what they want. Now, women, on the other hand, have this habit of, sleeping with somebody and have this notion that they're in a whole ass relationship, despite the fact that none of that shit is relevant. None of that shit's actually going to be anything at the end of the day because of you and your choices and your decisions that you make. Again, with the standards, if you have all these high standards for a man, just know the man that you're looking for has standards for you. And if you don't like those standards, you can kick rocks as far as that man's concerned. Because at the end of the day, it's not about fairness. It's about life. Do you add any value to me? Would I have to worry about you? Are you a liability? It's typically how that shit works. So I'm not shocked when men have all these standards and men have all these things in place to make sure you're actually a proper person or a proper wife, basically. Or if you can be wifey material. If you can't be wifey material, they're not going to choose you. They might choose to sleep with you, but they're never going to actually choose you wholly if you're going to do stuff like that at the end of the day. They're not going to trust you. They're not going to want to follow you. They're not going to want to ride with you wholly if you're making dumb decisions at the end of the day. You can't make dumb decisions and expect a man to be okay with your dumb decisions making. You can't be a college-educated woman and expect a college-educated man to take you on. Unless y'all plan on having a two-income household, that's not a thing. That is not a thing in the least bit. Unless you plan on having a double-income household at the end of the day, which is very rare to have. Hell, there's people outside and people out in the world who have none of those skills or have nothing, basically, to show for it at the end of the damn day. All they are is a big walking clusterfuck of feelings and emotions and things along the lines of that, or, things that make it so you have to think about it or go, Men only want women who add value to them. It's that simple. Men only want women who add any intrinsic value to them or anything to their life or anything to their goals. Money and your career ain't one of them. It would never be one of them. It would never be in that situation again, basically, at the end of the day, because it is what it is. Many people made decisions, and the fallout to their decisions is basically what you have to face at the end of the day. It's that simple. If you can't overcome adversity, then you probably really don't need to be in a relationship. If you can't overcome, ignoring people and being a better human being, you don't deserve to be in a relationship at the end of the day. It's typically how it works. But everybody wants to drink the feel-good Kool-Aid. So, that being said, when it comes to standards, just know your husband has a set of standards for you that you have to abide by if you want to be a part of that household or be one with that household at the end of the damn day. They basically have a flag letting you know. Not a flag. They basically have things in place to let you know that this is what I want, this is what I need, this is what I require of you. And the sad part about that, women don't want to hear that. They just basically want men to accept an unfinished product or a product that's not worth your time or your efforts at the end of the daggone day. But that being said, that's it for this lovely podcast. Y'all be good to yourselves. Treat yourselves like milk, do not spoil yourselves. And this has been another episode of Slippery Slope. Y'all be blessed and have a good one.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Lovely.
Is that lovely?
Pretty sexy. Baby, don't leave
No,
me.
I want to.